Hello my friends and welcome, my name is Dennis and this is the latest update from Ukraine. Russia started the ground offensive in Kharkiv Oblast, yes, directly towards Kharkiv. They advanced in two of the areas, however this advancement failed mostly. But partially, yes, we may admit that they've took the ground, they were successful, but after all, for today, the attack was stopped by Ukrainian defenders. Well, actually based on the data, I expected to happen the next week, but Russia started earlier. So this morning at 5 a.m. they used lots of the artillery systems at first, and after that advanced with limited forces. Yes, for now they're not using all of their reserves which they sent to the region of Belgorod. And judging on this military map, we may say that Russia occupied fully several of the settlements. But all of those small villages are located for now in a gray zone. So the fighting for them continues, and Ukraine even targeted the Russian forces on the Russian territory. Later on in this video I'm gonna show you the Russian convoys which were ambushed by Ukraine, usual picture which we see on the east and also on the south. So because of it, I wouldn't say that the Russian attack was successful. Moreover, I wouldn't say that it's the big Russian attack. The deep state military map gives absolutely same picture, so Pilna, Krasne, Streletsha and Borisivka are now located in the gray zone. Speaking about this particular village of Pilna, actually Russians went there a few days ago. We have this data also from the deep state military map source. They even shared the screenshots with the Russian soldiers walking in the village a few days ago. Yeah, later on those soldiers were targeted, but after all, there was no information about the Russian intervention to the territory of Ukraine by that time. So what happened? Actually, all of this territory near the border is the buffer area, including some of the more villages. Russia has their own army on the other side, and they constantly use FPV drones and artillery to target Ukrainian positions. That is why Ukraine wasn't able to establish a full control over the bordering territory, because in that case Ukrainian forces are staying under the Russian fire. At the same time, Russia has this buffer area as well. They had to pull their forces out from the border before, because they were also under Ukrainian attack. But what happened today, they moved forward with some of the artillery fire, that's it. And there are no any minefields in this bordering zone, also because our soldiers were unable to build the proper defense, because Russians have their own drones, surveillance equipment, and they see what our guys are doing and they strike them with their artillery, as I say to you. So Ukrainian defense lines are located a little bit more to the south. Also, we have a proof that Ukraine targeted Russian vehicles on the Russian territory. So Ukraine used the same tactics, artillery systems, to target enemy positions. So Russians moved closer to the border, they penetrated the border, but were demolished. The same happened at this point not far away from the Pilna village. So Russians decided to use this road to go to Orlynikova, but were stopped by Ukrainian attack. In this case, it is Ukrainian counterattack. So two big Russian convoys were demolished today, one not far away from Pilna on the Russian territory and the other one near Orlynikova, so it's somewhere over here. So as for me, what Russia is doing in the Kharkiv Oblast is kind of the stupid idea, because they follow their previous scenario of advancement directly to the Kharkiv city. We can clearly see it, judging on the directions of their attacks. Why do I think that attacking from this direction is stupid? Because they are unable to cut supplies. So here we can see a big road which connects Poltava and later on Kiev with Kharkiv. It's not just a road, it's autobahn, it's highway, it's well made, and Ukraine is able to deliver any sort of the supplies really fast. Plus there is also a railroad connection. So I thought that the logical way for Russia would be to attack from this part somewhere in attempt to cut this road, the main supply line. And only after that do the next step from the other side, trying to encircle Kharkiv. But Russians decided to go straight to Kharkiv, so Ukraine has the possibility to send more reinforcements and secure the city. But maybe it is a Russian goal, because Ukraine has limited resources, so Ukraine might send the reinforcements from the eastern side of Ukraine. and there Russia might perform its major strike. So what is happening now in Kharkiv area is not a big Russian attack on the city in attempt to take it under control, because they're simply out of the resources. We see the deficit of the manpower in the Russian army. They hire soldiers from other countries, they raise the payment for the soldiers, because after all there will be no one to pay the salary to. And we saw how they advanced on the east, taking Avdiivka, then Ocheretine. But for the recent time, this advancement pace slowed down gradually. So Ukrainian army actually was able almost to stop the Russian army. Yes, they advanced, but now little by little, as it was the last winter or the last autumn. So the idea for Russia is to occupy all of the Donetsk Oblast. They have the attack vectors out there from Ocheretine and also from Bakhmut. Those will be the main attack directions, because Russia has some of the problems in their army and they don't want to announce a new mobilization, but I think that after all they'll have to announce it. But for this time they try to solve the situation differently. They take some part of the army which wouldn't cause tremendous change on the east, and they put that army to Belgorod. We're speaking about 50,000 soldiers. Russia would lose that same number of the army men on the east in a matter of 2 months. But still we understand that 50,000 soldiers is a significant force which might take the ground, especially if they have some of the weapons. So their idea is to strike Kharkiv, also Sumy, with limited attacks. And they want the Ukrainian group on the east to send reinforcements to Kharkiv and also to Sumy regions. In that case, Russia might propel forward on the east, because it is their main goal, Donetsk Oblast. For now, not the Kharkiv one. Plus for this theory that Russia started not a massive offensive, but limited attacks, as I told you. So they want Ukraine to act, to counteract to their advancement by sending more reinforcements. So it is not the Russian blitzkrieg or something like that. This situation might continue for quite a long time. So why this direction in particular? Because there are some of the forest lines, forests themselves, plus lots of the settlements. So for the Russian infantry it is very convenient to hide there and not get drowned by Ukrainian army. But as we saw today, judging on the pictures from the drones, Russian army is definitely suffering. But they still create the risk for Ukrainian army, because if they see that they don't have enough resistance for Ukraine, they might concentrate their efforts on Kharkiv Oblast. And their goal now is to advance to Liptsi village. It's a very important strategic one. Basically, it opens the way to the Kharkiv city itself, which is not far away from Liptsi. And on this eastern direction, they create the threat to Vovchansk. It's quite a big settlement. I think that 3,000 people used to live there, so it's a small town. And also it opens the way to this road, but here is the bridge. Hopefully you can see it, which Ukraine may just cut if needed. That makes the Russian advancement from Vovchansk to Kharkiv almost impossible, at least using the fastest way of transportation of their vehicles, the road. So after all, the Liptsi direction is more important for Ukrainian army right now. My friends, there were also some of the other videos filmed from the front lines in Kharkiv region. Unfortunately, I just can't share those with you on this platform. That is why I have the Telegram channel. You may subscribe for it. You may find it in the video description just below. By the way, let's check out the timeline. So it was this morning and this evening. Clearly the Russian advancement, the gray area expansion, but still this area is under Ukrainian fire control. So Ukraine is able to use some of the artillery systems and other stuff to demolish the Russian army units. So Russia is unable to take the ground and dig into the ground on those positions. For this reason, it's not colored in red yet. Plus, we have the information that Russia moved some reinforcements to Sumy region, and if they start their attack towards Sumy, it means that the idea for Russia is really to disperse the forces of Ukrainian army and strike with the main forces on the east. And today we have already some of the videos from the Kharkiv Oblast, the combat images, which I only may share on my Telegram. What I can tell you here, that judging on those, all of the Russian vehicles which went to the place were demolished. Only Russian infantry stays on the Ukrainian territory. Alright, the White House administration also doesn't expect a significant breakthrough of the Russian army in Kharkiv Oblast. And obviously Ukraine expected that attack. All of the necessary surveillance information was also presented by the military intelligence of the United States. At the same time, John Kirby says that in the future Russia will probably think about the expansion of their current operation in Kharkiv region. It depends on their success and also on the main Russian goal, whether they will go in their offensive mission in Donetsk or they will switch to Kharkiv instead. But Kharkiv is a very big city, so Russia doesn't have enough resources to occupy it. Remember the battles for Bakhmut, Marinka, for Avdiivka. Those last for a very, very long time, for several months. And Bakhmut is incomparable to Kharkiv. Kharkiv is really big. Bakhmut is like one of the districts of Kharkiv. So for sure Russia would need lots and lots of the resources for Kharkiv, at least 500,000 soldiers, as I think. Plus lots of the military equipment, so it's not the target for them. What Russians might try to do, however, as I say to you, they might cut the supplies for Kharkiv or try to encircle the city. That's what they've basically tried in 2022 in their first attempt to go to the city. We'll see how it goes for Ukraine in general, but I'm sure that Kharkiv is secured against the ground operation of the Russian army, but still Russians target Kharkiv using artillery and other stuff. Reuters says that Russia wants to create some sort of the buffer area for at least 10 of the kilometers from their border. By doing so, they want to eliminate the risk for the Belgorod city, which sometimes is under the fire of the rocket artillery systems like Vampire, which Ukrainian army has and definitely uses those to target Belgorod. But honestly, I don't think that it's the reason. Mainly Russia doesn't care about Belgorod or anything. They just want to disperse the Ukrainian army as further as possible to attack on the east. At least it's my logic, and also the logic of many of the military analytics. So we have the official statement from the local authorities that they started the evacuation of civilians from Volchansk and many other settlements close to the Russian border. Actually, there were not many people living in that place before, but now Ukraine will do evacuation. Again, according to the law, Ukraine is unable to evacuate people by force. If they're willing to stay, they stay. But what might help Ukraine? Well, the United States of America, because they announced a new military package which will be delivered very, very soon. And here we have the list. I already published it on my Patreon. By the way, my friends, if you want to support the job that I do daily on YouTube, please join my Patreon. You may find the link for it in the video description just below. Obviously, if you want to support me. Thank you so much for it. So we'll have many more of the air defense missiles for NASAMS and Patriot, also missiles for the Manpads, artillery rounds and Bradleys, more of them. Plus lots of the other stuff which is definitely needed for Ukrainian army. That's why I think that Ukraine will be able to resist against the limited Russian attacks in Kharkiv region and in the future also in Sumy. I think that after all, Russia will strike that part of Ukraine too. And you know what is also happening? Ukraine continued to strike the Russian oil refineries. Yeah, it is one more kaboom night for the Russian Federation and also for the occupied territory of Luhansk Oblast. I'm speaking about the village of Rovenki, so there Russia has had the oil depot for their army. There was also a fuel storage. The similar stuff also happened in Kursk Oblast, one more Russian oil refinery. Sorry for the watermark, it was shared by the local Telegram channels. And there is also strike on Belgorod, looks like the meteor or something, and it definitely hit the ground with some of the fire. The trajectory looks like some sort of the ballistic missile. Russians confirmed that Ukraine used the ATACMS missiles with cluster warhead targeting the oil depot of Luhansk 3 days ago. Today, Russians claim that they've hit one of the Patriot systems, I mean the launcher and also the radar for it, but actually those were decoys, so Russia used a very expensive ballistic missile Iskander to target the launcher, the fake launcher. Why do I think that it is fake? Because there was no explosion of the missiles. And after the strike there was no fire of the system. Plus the color is very strange and also this thing is missing. It's the separate antenna. You may find it also over here. And the vast part of the Russian military analytics also confirmed that it was the Patriot decoy, not the Patriot system. Right guys, and now let's return to the front lines for a moment because we have some of the changes on the east. Yeah, Russia was slowed down by Ukrainian defenders, but still they continue their move, especially in Krasnohorivka. They entered the central part of the settlement, so it was yesterday and it is today. Well, Russians say that they've occupied this town, but actually it's not like that, it's fake. The fights continue in the city, however, I think it's just a matter of time that Russia occupies it and they will continue forward. As President Zelensky said, the main threat now is for Pokrovsk, Kurakhove, which are now quite far away from the front lines. It means that Ukrainian officials expect the further Russian army movement. Well, if Ukraine would have to send some of the reinforcements to Kharkiv Oblast and also to Sumy, unfortunately there will be no enough resources to stop a massive Russian attack. For Russia, it's go, no-go scenario. They want to occupy all of the Donetsk Oblast this year. And we already see the shape of this operation and the logic of it. But I think that after all, Russia will not be successful with it. And also there is the light movement in Netailova village, there Russia also advanced, plus the grey area expansion. However, if we take for example Ocheretino, there is no movement from the Russian side for a very long time. It means that this Russian attack finally was stopped. And also there were no changes in Chasiv Yar. Kind of the strange statement from the Ukrainian ground forces commander. He says that Chasiv Yar is nothing more than the average settlement without the huge military volume. But actually it's not like that. As I say to you, Chasiv Yar opens the way for the Russian army to reach Konstantinivka, Drushkivka and all of those settlements in a single line. And it is not just my opinion, I read some of the experts too, military experts, and they do agree that Chasiv Yar plays a great role for defense of Donetsk Oblast in total. So actually those words from commander are really strange. Well, finally I think Ukraine would have to leave Chasiv Yar, and he just speaks that it's okay, we can leave it, it's not the end, so he tries to encourage basically Ukrainian population, Ukrainian people. Right, we are still waiting for F-16s, and today we have the confirmation from the Standard Media, it's the name of the media. They say that first airplanes will arrive this summer during June and July. We need those as soon as possible because Russia continues to use their Sukhoi bombers, and the only tool which might counteract the threat is F-16 with a long-range missile. Many of those airplanes. Well guys, we'll see how the situation will develop in the future, but for now it's not critical. Ukraine is able and will be able to secure its independence. And now my friends, please don't forget to press your huge like to this video. By doing so you help me a lot, and as usual I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.